Hello and welcome, builders, back to another episode of Don't Be a Boring Builder. And today we're going to look at ships, boats, more period boats and docks. I have put together an example of a dock that I was working on and a ship I was working on for an intro that I'm working on. And I just thought I would go over some of the little details that you can add to give yourself a little authenticity to your dock. Okay, one of the things that I found is that a lot of times in docks you'll find ropes wrapped around things. Case in point, we've got these guys right here. How the rope wraps around it. Well, you can't do that with these big logs, but if you really want to go and kind of add that effect, add four signs. Obviously, that takes up the space next to it, so you got to be careful where you're going to use it. And just basically put lines on it. You can do single lines, you can do double lines, and frankly, you get farther away, that looks like rope wrapped around the top of that. At least as much as anything in Minecraft looks like something wrapped around round things. So that's my first suggestion. Obviously, when you're dealing with a dock, you're gonna have vines growing on it and other kinds of growth on or around it. So don't forget that. Generally speaking, when you're dealing with docks, you're going to have one of two things. You're going to have either darker wood because it's going to be stained through use and age, or you might have bleached wood, depending on if you're talking about like a desert or something like that. So, choose accordingly, but you don't just have to go with the simple oak. So, do what you can there. Now, I actually have another dock I'm going to show you here in just a minute for a little bit more of detail. But let's go on to the ship for now, or to the ship to dock connection. Now, a lot of you are probably going, "Wow, yeah, how do you do that?" One of the things that I really wish that you could do in Minecraft is use the leads to tie off, everything, to tie off your boats to these little guys, etc., or simply to tie them from one fence post to another. Make like a little rope edging. But you can't do that yet. So I was trying to figure out a way that I could trick the game into allowing me to basically tie up this great big boat, or a small boat, whatever. There is a way to do it, exactly as I have done. You do need a tiny little space. This, I just happen to use big spaces. And you create your anchors. Anything will do. I figured if you're in creative mode, why not use cats? They tend to keep creepers away. And then basically you simply attach the lead, fly out of the top, attach the lead over there, and keep little Mr. Pet there. Now, one thing you do want to do, and I probably do not, let me turn on my crosshairs. If I look at him funny, come here. I gotta look at you funny. There we go. I have named all of these guys with name tags to keep them from despawning. Yeah, I'm going to go that route in order to try and keep them from despawning. Otherwise, unfortunately, as we all know, these guys do not fold the right way, but there's all different kinds of things you can do in terms of placing windows or gun ports on your ship. You can certainly have cannons, etc. Whoa! Oh, see, you got to be careful, or else that happens. Darn it. Oh, now it's just ruined. I got to start over. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to start over. But, yeah, do be careful of that. Obviously, it would be nice if these guys flipped down. They don't. So, whatever. On the back of this particular ship, I've got the captain's quarters, which, of course, I'll have a much finer version. It has glass, and of course, now you're going to really annoy the crud out of me, aren't you? Alright, well, we'll put him back later. So they certainly act well as open shutters, as decor, decoration, things like that. Obviously, you can't really have them shut. Unfortunately, they will not stay For example, you can't put them on the underside of that or anything. Oh, now you're drowning. Brilliant. Anywho, so they do have to be open. What good is a boat without a name? El Niño del Santiago. And of course, many boats often have figureheads and things like that painted on them or carved on them. If we come out here to the front, you'll see that I do have the bust of something of Steve off to the front. I will admit I did not do my best job in terms of the sail. I think it's a little too far forward, or else the boat's a little too long. I could also have made it a little taller. There's a couple things you can do when it comes to sails. Ladders and the rails kind of make a nice like rope tie effect. Going around the sides, kind of in a similar fashion to the way the signs go around there. Again, of course, I have my cross-member connection that I love so much in the form of the furnaces. Apparently we are up in the rare air up here because it's really cold and it's snowy. Now, when it comes to attaching your sail, there's lots of different ways you can do it. You can certainly just make it straight. I sort of made mine, gave it a slightly billowed effect. The bigger your sail, the more elaborate you can make it. By that I mean you can add all. Oops, see, yeah, we didn't want to do that. The more elaborate you can make it, the more ripples you can place in it, etc. The more designs you can place on it. You can put huge skulls and crossbones. Obviously, now you're talking about a ship that's not really likely to have ever sailed the 7 seas or the 8 seas or whatever. But like I said, go ahead and put your sails on, and then attach your sails. Don't leave them hanging. And there's no reason why you should have to have this sail attached directly to your cross beams or your verticals. I've used fence posts and actually fence gates even to kind of mix it up and use that to attach these. Now, the only problem with the fence gates is that they will not. You cannot simply place them. You actually have to place a block below them, place the fence gate, and then remove the block underneath. Don't ask me why. It's just a goofy thing about Minecraft. As you can see, some of the things that I've placed here are just for looks. It's just to break it up. Otherwise, you have pretty much a giant wooden ship with not a lot of variation. Now, I will say that generally speaking, the bottom of your ship is going to be either a darker wood or a black or darker material, maybe nether brick. If only because they would coat it with tar and pitch, and generally it was blacker on the bottom or darker on the bottom. So obviously it might be not come up quite that far, but for the effect I was looking for. I've got an anchor. I find that that the iron bars, if you are careful and if you happen to use the right kinds of wood blocks, depending on what you want, they actually make great anchor chains. There's not much else you can use. You can use these and I've got some examples to show you over there. I've also got, what do I have here? I guess that's a hopper connected to some additional iron bars to provide the actual anchor itself. Let's see. Yeah, that's like I said. I was using this as part of my intro. And then one of the other things I wanted to show you was flags. Obviously, again, like a sail, the bigger your flag, the more detailed you can put into it. But one of the things that I've found is that if you're trying to make a pennant or something like that, that kind of flutters in the breeze, they're usually triangular shaped. Especially like at the tops of ships and castles and things like that. So I usually find that I try to taper it off either 3-2-1 or 2-2-1. But the other thing you can do to kind of make it a little I know it's subtle, but sometimes it makes all the difference. As you can see, I've got a piece of carpet there and there, so that this one is a little more than just 1 block high, and this one's a little more than 2 blocks high. Again, subtle difference, but I can see it, and frankly, let's face it, I build for myself, so if I can see it, I'm going to do it. Most of the rest of this is simply just for the look of it. Obviously, a lot of times you're going to have ladders going up to the tops, because they would have to be able to get up onto the rigging. Either that or they'd climb the rigging, and you can't basically place ladders in midair. Now, that said, if you are like us and you use a bucket plugin that does allow you to place ladders in midair, you can always go and place ladders between from here to here and use the ladders as your rope rigging. That would be great. Unfortunately, we don't have a server up at the moment that allows me to demonstrate that, so I'm stuck here in the crow's nest with no ability to show you. So, alright, so that's my ship. Now let me show you a few examples of other pieces of ship work that you can consider. Another kind of anchor, especially if you have a very large ship, you can actually construct the anchor itself out of the iron bars and use a much thicker, more solid anchor rope in the form of, and I'm sorry I'm using a lot, but in the form of the nether brick fence to go ahead and create a rope. Another kind of anchor that I've used before is like a bell anchor. It uses the anvil and the hopper to create the anchor itself, and of course from there you can basically use either the iron bar as a chain or the nether brick fence, and you can even use let's see, where is it? You could even use a more rope-like, if you will, anchor rope as opposed to an anchor chain, and simply use the regular timber fence. This is an example of a propeller. If, for example, you are not using, hold on one second. Oops, sorry about that. So this is an example of a propeller. Frankly, I like, unless you have a truly massive drive shaft, this is just the ship, the back of the ship, whatever, make it however you want to look like. And then use the propeller, or sorry, the pistons as the propeller base, and of course it'll have a central hub bolted in place. And then a lot of times propellers are either iron or steel or copper or some bronze version thereof. So I've got these tipped in a couple different materials. You can certainly vary them. I recommend, I kind of like actually the coal block, aside from it being flammable, because I think it looks kind of let's grab some more coal blocks and we'll put it in there. We'll give it the full effect now that we've seen it all. There we go. There we go. There we go. There. So anyway, you could certainly tip them with just about anything. If they had some sort of like an acacia wood colored tips, you could certainly use that. The only problem is it looks a little bit too much like wood for my taste. Whoops. So anywho, now over here I have an example of some lighter weight sails that I was kind of messing with. Now this is definitely something you really would have to do in creative, most likely. Basically what these are is these are maps. These are maps in item frames with this great wonderful backing of stuff, and essentially it's definitely flatter. Obviously you can add bits and pieces off to the side and vary it that way, but you don't really get any depth out of it. unless you physically create it by changing where the mast goes. But if you have a smaller ship, like I'll show you in the next map that I've got to show you. It can look maybe a little better than trying to put some giant wool blocks there. But again, it is a lot more labor intensive. First, I had to find an area that was mostly white, and as you can see, I did not bother to fill in all of it. But it all depends on what you're trying to do, and that worked for me. One more thing that a lot of times you'll find on a ship, maybe a little bigger than that, at least for one this size, is what they call a capstan, and that's basically where you would have usually handles coming out of a cylinder that basically is used to wind the ropes or the often attached to the anchor chain, sometimes other ropes or rigging, and basically it starts out, it's either just above deck, sometimes it will go below decks. So what I've got here is basically a capstan, and I've used the fences of the different sorts, but by using because essentially, let's see, let me show you. If you simply try to use fence posts or things of that, oh darn it, there it is. If you try and use a fence post and a fence post, they're not going to talk to each other. So that's why you have to use the gate. If you use the fence gate, all right, so that technically, whoops, sorry, that won't work either because they won't touch either. But if you use the gate, then you can attach whatever to whatever. And in this particular case, what I've got is I actually have a dispenser pointed upward so that the little hole is at the top facing out. Not that you see it, but it's kind of the principle of the thing, because then you get the texture around the sides. And then I've got a cobblestone fence post there as the center hub. Now down below, what I've done by creating this sort of spool, if you will, underneath and giving it this sort of rod that's basically like a giant rod going all the way down, and by putting this piece of jungle wood here, because it only comes up halfway in this sort of window, because of the way the step blocks work. Sorry, it's late. It's always late. It kind of gives the effect of being a rope that's partially wound up around the capstan. So that's that. Now, before I go off to, well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to pause it here. I will go and show you the other dock that I've created, and then I will show you one more trick, and we'll be done for the evening. All right, hold on. Hey builders, we're back again. Took me a moment to find the world. Just to give you an example, again, here's another dock that I've created. I've got bumpers on the sides made out of straw. I've got a lifting crane for cargo, just basically put together with a series of blocks and pistons and buttons and knobs and different things to give it a little bit of character. And of course, I've got all these different pennants flapping in the breeze. Now, each of these is just a 3-block set. Obviously, they have the carpet on top of them to give them that tiny bit of extra depth. And yeah, so normally I would probably put them all in a very similar sort of direction, but these I gave a little bit of variation on, because let's face it, unless that wind is blowing full force and sticking them all straight out, you want to make them a little varied, a little flappy. All right, a little difference, a little deviation. Also on the dock here, we have a little cargo getting ready to go on board ship. I have used nether quartz half slabs to indicate sails. Basically sails wrapped up. As a matter of fact, You can basically lay them out in blocks, and there are natural lines that separate the individual blocks. It almost makes them look like they have little lines or billows in the sail, the segments of the sail, or that there's string or rope, tied around them to keep them in place. Um, these do actually have water in them, believe it or not. Why did I put the lids on them? I don't know, but I put lids on them. And then here's another example of a ship that has that style of sail that I was talking about, where you use the maps. Unfortunately, I did not know where there might be a white or whatever color that you want for your sail, but hey, if you want a green sail, great. So what I started to do is look at, well, how big would I have to make a creative area of white wool in order to go and create a map that was pretty much all white. And it was, come on here, there we go. Actually, it's white and blue. I started working in stripes, but as you can see, it's pretty big because that's the corner over there. So it's quite the undertaking. I highly recommend, if you do want to do that, find some sort of snowy biome. I think the one that I did on the last map that I showed you was a snowy taiga. It's really not that hard to do. Let's see, I did tie this boat up as well. I've got just, I think, 2 guys. There's one cat down there. Actually, there's just one, because I think the one that I had back here broke and got free, and he's over there somewhere. And then the other thing that I did not mention before is, with regard to boats, give it a rudder. Give it a rudder and a keel, usually. If you can. Keels are less noticeable because of the way the water flows around the steps and whatnot, but oh well. The bigger your boat, the more prominent the keel would be anyway. And then rudders you can make out of different things. I made this one out of a fence gate and fence post because it's relatively lightweight. There's your handle, the tiller, and obviously this guy would not be right there. Go away. Anyway, so this is like just a big old flat open boat, a little sail. I didn't bother to try to enclose it or anything like that. And then when it comes to docks, obviously, again, if you're in creative, make use of the sponge, put it different places, make little sponge growths. And the other thing you should consider, especially if you're, again, dealing with underwater, as you can see, I've changed from an oak wood up top to a spruce on the bottom to give it the effect of having been painted with pitch or tar underneath. Hey, that's pretty cool right there. That's a cool effect right there at the line. Anyway, and then to give them all a better foundation, and rather than simply have them sticking into or bearing on the dirt down there at the bottom, I've piled some mossy cobble around the base of each of these guys to give it a little bit more foundation. That's what we call it in structural engineering, a good foundation. So there you have it. That is there you are. Yes, anchor number 2. Come here. Haha, I do have you. Well, we'll at least just tie him off over here, and what the heck did I do? Where did I tie it to? I guess I still have it. I can't tie it there? I guess not. What? Alright, I'll be right back. Alright, builders, we are actually back in the previous world because I realized I had already set this up, actually. So anyway, while I was in the process of trying to figure out ways to tie things and how about like power lines, telephone lines? These make a nice T shape, but what about the wires themselves? Well, as you can see, you can actually float tripwires in between them. But that's not what I brought you here to show you. What I brought you here to show you is this great table. This wonderful table that, and I know I've shown you guys how to do tables before, but if I remember correctly, the last time I showed you how to do a table, it was something along the lines of this, because basically, if you want to do this, you must have a support at each one. So you cannot do this. So how did I do that? Well, voila, you go in here with the string. See, Robert is coming back. This is one of Robert's things. You basically place string down. You can barely see it, but believe it or not, that is enough to support your tabletop. Da, da, da. Now, unfortunately, you can't place anything on these tabletops without them being up high in the air. Another option you have without using the string, if you really want to, is you could do, let's see, let's say you wanted to do, yeah, I wanted to do black carpet. So why did you go away? There you are. You could also do, say, black carpet underneath of your table, and then come up here and go 1, 2, 3, 4, and voila. Now you have, whoops, we can't have the black carpet not go to the side. So you could certainly do that as well. But for those of you who don't want to do the carpet underneath and want to have, say, your wood show through, etc., by all means, use the string trick, and you'll wind up with a lovely little table like this with only 4 legs, or however many legs you want. So there you have it, builders, and this has been fun. It's been another fine episode of Don't Be a Boring Builder. Build awesome things, and I want to thank all the recent subscribers and the folks that are new to the server who have done a wonderful job of not being boring builders and being very inventive and creative in their builds. I really appreciate it. It makes my time on the server and my time in Minecraft in general just really more enjoyable. So look forward to seeing you all again, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
You're so wonderful.